Some betrayals don't come with warning signs. They don't knock on your door or send you a text message. They just happen. One moment, you're living what you think is a normal life, and the next, everything you believed in crumbles right in front of your eyes. My name is David. And this is the story of how my wife walked out on me after I did what any father would do, protect his son. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that a simple napkin from a prison would eventually reveal a truth so shocking, it would turn our entire world upside down. It was a Thursday evening. I remember because Thursdays were our family dinner nights. My son, Marcus, was 17, a good kid, quiet, kept to himself mostly. He'd been acting strange for weeks, jumpy, nervous. I'd asked him what was wrong more times than I could count, but he always said the same thing, "Nothing, Dad. I'm fine." But that Thursday, he wasn't fine. I was in my workshop behind the house, fixing an old chair, when I heard shouting coming from inside. Not just any shouting, screaming. My wife, Linda, was yelling at the top of her lungs. My heart dropped. I ran toward the house, sawdust still on my hands. When I burst through the back door, I found Linda standing in the kitchen, her face red with fury, and Marcus backed into the corner like a trapped animal. She was holding something, a phone. His phone. "Do you want to explain this?" Linda screamed, shoving the phone toward Marcus. I stepped between them immediately. "Linda, what's going on?" She turned to me, her eyes wild. Your son has been involved with those kids. The ones from the east side. The ones who got arrested last month for breaking into stores." My stomach turned. "What? Marcus, is that true?" Marcus looked at me, his eyes filling with tears. "Dad, I didn't. Don't even try to lie." Linda cut him off. "I saw the messages. You were with them that night." I looked at my son. Really looked at him. And I saw something I hadn't seen before, fear. Not guilt. Fear. "Marcus," I said calmly, "tell me the truth. Were you involved?" He shook his head frantically. "No, Dad. I swear. I was there, but I didn't know what they were planning. When I realized, I tried to leave, but nothing." Linda's voice was ice cold now. "You were there. That makes you just as guilty." "That's not how it works, Linda," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "If he didn't participate, if he tried to leave, are you seriously defending him right now?" She looked at me like I was a stranger. "David, the police could come for him any day. Do you understand that? Our son could go to jail. Then we get him a lawyer. We fight this. But we don't turn on him." I put my hand on Marcus's shoulder. "We're his parents. We stand by him." Linda's expression changed. It was like watching a door slam shut. "No," she said quietly. "You stand by him. I won't be part of this." I didn't understand what she meant. Not then. "Linda, what are you saying?" She walked past me, her shoulder brushing mine. "I'm saying I didn't sign up to be the mother of a criminal. He's not a criminal." My voice rose now. "He's 17 years old and he made a mistake, if he even made one at all." But she wasn't listening anymore. She went upstairs, and I heard drawers opening, things being thrown around. Marcus grabbed my arm. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I pulled him into a hug. "You have nothing to be sorry for. We're going to fix this." 20 minutes later, Linda came back down with a suitcase. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "Linda, you're not serious." She didn't look at me. "I'm staying at my sister's. I need time to think." "Time to think? Our son needs us right now." She finally met my eyes. "Your son needs you." I need to protect myself. My reputation. My career. I can't be associated with this. And just like that, she walked out. The door closed behind her, and the house fell silent except for Marcus's quiet sobbing beside me. I had no idea that this was only the beginning. That the real betrayal was still hiding in the shadows. And that a piece of paper from a prison cell would soon reveal everything. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Linda didn't come back. She didn't call. She texted once, just once, to say she needed space. Meanwhile, Marcus and I were left to face the storm alone. The police did come. Just like Linda predicted, they questioned Marcus for hours. I hired the best lawyer I could afford, a woman named Jennifer Hayes who'd handled juvenile cases before. She was tough, smart, and most importantly, she believed Marcus. "David," she told me after the first meeting, "your son is telling the truth. I've seen enough cases to know when a kid is lying. Marcus isn't lying." But believing him and proving it were two very different things. The other boys, there were 4 of them, had already been arrested. They were older, 19 and 20. And according to their statements, they tried to drag Marcus into it. They claimed he was a willing participant. He acted as a lookout. Marcus denied it all. He said he'd been hanging out with them because he was lonely, because he wanted to feel like he belonged somewhere. But when they started talking about breaking into the electronics store, he told them he wanted to go home. They laughed at him. Called him weak. And when he tried to leave, one of them grabbed him and told him if he left, they'd make sure everyone at school knew he was a snitch. So he stayed. But he didn't help. He stood outside, terrified, while they smashed the window and ransacked the place. Jennifer built our defense around that. She found footage from a nearby traffic camera that showed Marcus standing away from the storefront, his body language tense, clearly uncomfortable. She interviewed classmates who confirmed that Marcus had been trying to distance himself from those boys in recent weeks. But the prosecutor was relentless. He painted Marcus as part of a gang. A willing participant who only claimed innocence when he got caught. The trial lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of watching my son sit in that courtroom, looking smaller and more afraid every single day. 3 weeks of journalists outside our house, neighbors whispering, people who I thought were friends suddenly avoiding me. And through it all, Linda stayed away. I called her. I begged her to come, to at least be there for Marcus. She refused. "I can't, David. I can't. Can't or won't." I asked, my voice breaking. She hung up. I'll never forget the day of the verdict. The courtroom was packed. Marcus sat beside Jennifer, his hands shaking. I sat right behind him, close enough to touch his shoulder, to remind him he wasn't alone. The judge read the verdict slowly, carefully. On the charge of breaking and entering, we find the defendant, Marcus Thompson, not guilty. The relief was overwhelming. Marcus collapsed into Jennifer's arms, sobbing. I stood up, my legs weak, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. We'd won. My son was free. But when I got home that night, expecting maybe, just maybe, Linda would be there, would have heard the news and come back, the house was empty. I called her again. "He was found not guilty, Linda. Did you hear me? Marcus is innocent." There was a long pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. "That doesn't change anything, David. I've already filed for divorce." The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I can't do this anymore. I can't be married to someone who chose his son over me. Chose? I couldn't breathe. Linda, he's our son. Our child. How is protecting him a choice? It just is, she said coldly. My lawyer will be in touch. She hung up. And that was it. 18 years of marriage, gone. Not because of infidelity, not because of fights or money or any of the usual reasons. But because I refused to abandon my son when he needed me most. Marcus found me sitting in the dark that night, staring at nothing. "Dad?" His voice was small, scared. "She's divorcing me," I said. He sat down beside me. "This is all my fault." "No." I turned to him, grabbed his shoulders. "Don't you ever think that? You did nothing wrong. Your mother, she made her choice. I made mine. And I'd make it again 1,000 times. But deep down, a part of me was breaking. How could the woman I loved, the woman I'd built a life with, just walk away like that? I didn't know then that her betrayal went far deeper than I ever imagined. That she wasn't just abandoning us, she was hiding something. Something dark. Something that would soon come crawling out of the shadows. And it would all start with a napkin from a prison cell. 3 months passed. The divorce papers came. Linda wanted everything, the house, half my savings, even my truck. Her lawyer was ruthless, painting me as an obsessive father who'd prioritized his son over his wife's well-being. It was absurd. But I didn't have the energy to fight anymore. I just wanted it over. Marcus started his senior year. He was different now, quieter, more withdrawn. The trial had changed him. Kids at school whispered. Teachers looked at him with pity. He'd been found innocent, but the stain remained. I tried to be strong for him. Tried to act like everything was fine. But every night, I lay awake wondering how things had gone so wrong so fast. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was at work, I'm a carpenter, run my own small business, when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Is this David Thompson?" A man's voice, rough, tired. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Ray Kimball. I'm calling from Stateville Correctional Center." My blood went cold. "A prison?" "I think you have the wrong number." "No, sir. I don't. I need to talk to you about your wife. Linda Thompson." I stopped walking. "What about her?" "I can't say much over the phone. But there's something you need to know. Something she's been hiding." "Who are you?" I was her brother's cellmate. Before he passed. Linda's brother. Robert. He died in prison 5 years ago. Drug charges, complications from pneumonia. It had devastated her. Or so I thought. "What does Robert have to do with anything?" "Everything," Ray said. "Before he died, he gave me something. A napkin. He wrote names on it. Details. He made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, I'd get it to you." A napkin? This sounded insane. Why would he give you something for me? Because he knew the truth. About Linda. About what she did. My hands were shaking now. "What are you talking about?" "I can't say more. But I'm getting out next week. I'll bring you the napkin. You need to see it for yourself." "Wait." But he'd already hung up. I stood there in the middle of my workshop, phone in hand, heart racing. What did Linda do? What truth was Robert hiding? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Ray's words. About Robert. Linda rarely talked about her brother after he died. She'd gone to the funeral alone, saying it was too painful for me to come. I'd respected that. Supported her through her grief. But now, questions swirled in my mind. Had she lied about that, too? A week later, Ray showed up at my house. He was in his 50s, lean and weathered, with eyes that had seen too much. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "You, David?" "Yeah." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside was a napkin, yellowed and wrinkled, with writing on it in blue ink. Robert gave me this 2 days before he died. Said if anything happened to him, I had to make sure you got it. He said you were a good man. That you deserved the truth. I took the bag with trembling hands. What's on it? Ray's expression darkened. Names. Dates. Bank account numbers. Your wife, she wasn't just Robert's sister. She was his partner. Partner in what? The drug operation that got him locked up. The world tilted. That's impossible. Linda is a real estate agent. She used her real estate connections to launder money. Robert handled distribution. Linda handled the cleanup. Ray pointed at the napkin. It's all there. Transactions. Properties she bought under fake names. Robert kept records because he didn't trust her. Said she'd throw him under the bus if things went south. I stared at the napkin. Linda's name is written next to dollar amounts. Property addresses. Dates that lined up with when Robert was arrested. She let him take the fall, Ray continued. He got locked up. She walked free. And he was so eaten up with guilt and anger that it destroyed him from the inside. The pneumonia just finished what she started. I couldn't breathe. Why didn't he come forward? Why didn't he tell the police? He tried. But she had connections. People who made sure his claims were dismissed as the ramblings of a desperate convict. After a while, he gave up trying to fight her. He just gave up on everything. I looked at Ray. Why are you telling me this now? Because Robert made me promise. And because I looked you up. I saw what she did to you. How she left you and your boy when you needed her most. You deserve to know who you were really married to. Ray left soon after. But the napkin stayed. And as I sat there reading every word, every detail, a cold rage settled over me. Linda hadn't just abandoned us. She'd built our entire life on lies. She'd let her own brother rot in prison to save herself. And when things got difficult, when Marcus needed her, she'd run, not because she was ashamed of him, but because she was terrified her past would come to light. For the first time in months, I knew exactly what I had to do that I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table, the napkin in front of me, a laptop open beside it. If what Ray said was true, and every instinct told me it was, then Linda had been living a double life for years. I started searching. Property records. Business filings. Bank transactions. I wasn't a detective, but I was angry. And anger has a way of making you relentless. The first address on the napkin led me to a small commercial property on the south side of town. According to public records, it had been purchased 8 years ago by something called Meridian Holdings LLC. The registered agent? A lawyer named Philip Crane. I dug deeper. Meridian Holdings owned 4 other properties. All were purchased around the same time Robert was arrested. All in areas known for, let's just say, questionable activity. Then I found the connection. Linda's signature. Not on the main documents, she was too smart for that. But on secondary paperwork. Lease agreements. Maintenance contracts. Her handwriting, her name, hidden in plain sight. She'd been so careful. So calculated. She'd built a network of shell companies and fake identities to hide her involvement. And when Robert got caught, she'd made sure every trail led back to him, not her. I felt sick. This was the woman I'd shared a bed with for 18 years. The woman who'd smiled at me across the breakfast table, kissed me goodbye every morning, told me she loved me. All lies. But I needed more than a napkin and some property records. I needed proof that would hold up. Proof that would expose her for what she really was. That's when I remembered something. Linda's home office. She'd always kept it locked, said it was for client confidentiality. I'd never questioned it. Trusted her completely. I went upstairs. The office door was still locked. I could have picked it, but I didn't need to. I knew where she kept the spare key, inside a fake book on the hallway shelf. She thought she was so clever. Inside the office, everything was neat. Organized. Professional. But I wasn't looking at the surface. I was looking for what she'd hidden. I started with her filing cabinets. Real estate contracts, client information, and tax documents. All legitimate. But then, in the bottom drawer, hidden beneath a stack of old magazines, I found a second ledger. My hands shook as I opened it. Names. Dates. Amounts. All in Linda's handwriting. And not just Robert's name, other names too. People I didn't recognize. Some entries went back 15 years. This wasn't just about Robert. This was bigger. Much bigger. Linda hadn't just helped her brother. She'd been running her own operation. Using her real estate business as a front. Robert had been just one piece of a much larger puzzle. I took photos of every page. Then I found something else, a USB drive taped to the underside of the bottom drawer. I pulled it free and plugged it into the laptop. Files. Hundreds of them. Bank statements. Wire transfers. Emails between Linda and people with names like J. Vance and M. Torres. Communications about shipments, payments, and properties. She'd kept everything. Maybe as insurance. Maybe as leverage. But she'd kept it. And now I had it. I copied everything onto my own drive. Then I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Linda couldn't know I'd been here. Not yet. The next morning, I called Jennifer Hayes. She'd been Marcus's lawyer, but she also had connections to people who handled more complicated cases. David? What's going on? I need your help. But this isn't about Marcus. This is about Linda. I told her everything. The napkin. The properties. The ledger. The USB drive. When I finished, there was a long silence. David, Jennifer said carefully, if what you're telling me is true, this is serious. Federal level serious. Money laundering, racketeering, possibly more. I know. You need to take this to the authorities. The FBI. Not local police, federal. Will they believe me? With this kind of evidence? Yes. But you need to be prepared. This is going to blow up. It's going to be everywhere. The media. Your name. Marcus's name. I thought about my son. About what he'd already been through. Marcus has suffered enough because of her. I need to do this. Then let me make some calls. I know someone. An agent who specializes in financial crimes. Give me a day. That day felt like a year. But Jennifer came through. 2 days later, I was sitting in a conference room with 2 FBI agents, laying out everything I'd found. They listened. Took notes. Asked questions. And when I showed them the USB drive, their expressions changed. Mr. Thompson, one of them said, you've just handed us a case we've been trying to build for 3 years. My stomach dropped. 3 years? Linda Thompson has been on our radar for a while. But she's careful. Very careful. We could never get enough evidence to move forward. Until now. They asked me not to confront Linda. Not to let her know anything was happening. They needed time to build the case, to track down all the players involved. So I waited. Watched her from a distance as she continued her life, pretending to be the victim of a failed marriage. She posted on social media about new beginnings and finding herself. Her friends supported her. Told her how brave she was. It made me sick. But I waited. Because I knew the storm was coming. And when it hit, it would destroy everything she'd built on lies. The FBI worked fast. Within 2 weeks, they'd corroborated everything on the USB drive. They traced bank accounts, interviewed people, and cross-referenced Linda's properties with known criminal activity. And they found more. So much more. Linda wasn't just a small-time player. She was a key figure in a regional operation that had been moving money for years. The real estate business was a perfect cover: cash transactions, property flips, international buyers. Nobody questioned a successful agent making big deals. But the FBI was questioning everything now. They told me they were planning to arrest her. Soon. They just needed to coordinate with other agencies, make sure they grabbed everyone at once, so nobody could run. I asked them one question: when this happens, will my son be safe? Will they come after him? Your son has nothing to do with this, the lead agent assured me. We've looked into his case. He's clear. But I won't lie to you, Mr. Thompson, when this goes public, there will be attention. Media attention. You and Marcus need to be prepared. I told Marcus everything that night. We sat in the living room, and I laid it all out. The napkin. The investigation. What was about to happen to his mother? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Did she ever love us? Was any of it real?" I didn't have an answer. I still don't. I don't know, son. I really don't know. He nodded slowly. When they arrest her, will we have to see her? Not if you don't want to. I don't, he said firmly. She left us. She chose herself. She doesn't get to be our family anymore. I'd never been more proud of him. And never more heartbroken. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there, but I watched the news coverage. They hit 5 locations simultaneously: Linda's office, her apartment, 2 properties she owned, and the home of her business partner, a man I'd never even heard of. The footage showed Linda being led out of her office in handcuffs, her face pale, her eyes wide with shock. Reporters swarmed her, shouting questions. She said nothing. Just kept her head down as they put her in the car. My phone exploded. Friends. Family. People I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted to know if I'd known. If I'd been involved. I ignored most of them. But I did call Linda's sister, the one she'd stayed with after leaving me. Did you know? I asked. Know what? What Linda was really doing. Who she really was. There was a long pause. No, she said quietly. But I suspected something wasn't right. She had too much money. Too many secrets. And you never said anything. She's my sister, David. What was I supposed to do? I hung up. I was done making excuses for people who enabled her. The trial began 4 months later. Federal prosecutors had built an airtight case. Linda's lawyer tried everything, claiming she was coerced by Robert, that she didn't understand what she was involved in, that she was a victim too. But the evidence was overwhelming. The ledger. The USB drive. Testimony from people who'd worked with her. Ray even testified, honoring his promise to Robert one last time. Linda took the stand in her own defense. I watched from the gallery, Marcus beside me. She looked older, smaller. The confident woman I'd married was gone. She cried. Talked about her difficult childhood. Her fear of poverty. How Robert had pulled her in, and she didn't know how to get out. It was a performance. And the jury saw right through it. When the prosecutor cross-examined her, he asked one question that cut through everything. Mrs. Thompson, when your son was on trial, when he needed you most, where were you? She froze. I was dealing with my own issues. Your own issues? Or were you afraid that being associated with your son's case would bring unwanted attention to your criminal activities? She didn't answer. In fact, you divorced your husband specifically because he refused to abandon your son. Because a devoted father standing by his son looked good. Made people sympathetic to your family. And you couldn't risk that sympathy turning into scrutiny. Isn't that true? No. That's not. You left your family to protect yourself. Just like you let your brother die in prison to protect yourself. You have spent your entire adult life sacrificing everyone around you to save your own skin. Linda broke down. But it wasn't remorse. It was rage. Rage that she'd been caught. That her carefully constructed life had fallen apart. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty. On all counts. The judge sentenced her to 22 years in federal prison. She'd be eligible for parole in 15. When they led her away, she looked at me one last time. And in that look, I saw no apology. No regret for what she'd done to us. Just anger that I'd been the one to bring her down. The months after Linda's sentencing were strange. Quiet. The media moved on to the next story. The neighbors stopped whispering. Life started to feel normal again, or at least, a new version of normal. Marcus graduated high school. Not at the top of his class, but he graduated. And more importantly, he smiled again. He started making plans for college. Started talking about the future like it was something worth looking forward to. We sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain soaked into the walls. We found a smaller place across town. It was just the two of us now, and that was okay. We didn't need much. I got a letter from Ray a few months after the trial. He'd been released from prison and was trying to rebuild his life. He thanked me for following through, for making sure Robert's final act of truth meant something. Your wife destroyed a lot of lives, he wrote. But because of you, she can't destroy any more. That matters. I kept the letter. Kept the napkin too, preserved in plastic. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how deep you bury it. One afternoon, Marcus and I were sitting on the porch of our new place, just talking, when he asked me something I'd been waiting for. Dad, do you hate her? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't hate her. I pity her. Pity her? Yeah. She had everything. A family. A life. People who loved her. And she threw it all away because she was too afraid to be honest. Too greedy to be content. Now she's sitting in a cell, and we're here. Free. We won. Marcus nodded. Do you think she'll ever apologize? No. People like Linda don't apologize. They just blame everyone else. Then I'm glad we're done with her. Me too, son. Me too. Life moved forward. I expanded my carpentry business. Marcus got into a good college with a partial scholarship, turns out, surviving what he survived made for a compelling admissions essay. He was going to study psychology, wanted to help kids who'd been through trauma. I'd never been prouder. On the day I dropped him off at college, he hugged me tight. Thank you, he said. For not giving up on me. For believing me when nobody else did. You're my son, I told him. I'll always believe in you. As I drove home that day, alone but not lonely, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal. The pain. The fight. The truth. Linda had tried to destroy us. But in the end, she'd only destroyed herself. And we'd survived. Stronger. Together. You know, people always say that family is everything. That blood is thicker than water. But I've learned something these past few years that I wish I'd understood sooner. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. Who stands beside you when the world is falling apart? Who holds your hand in the dark and refuses to let go? Linda was my wife. Marcus's mother. But when the moment came to choose between her own comfort and her family's well-being, she chose herself. Every single time. Robert, her brother, died alone in a prison cell, holding on to a truth that she tried to bury. And even from beyond the grave, he found a way to protect me. A stranger he'd never met. Because he knew what she was capable of. Because he'd seen her true face. That napkin, that wrinkled, yellowed piece of paper, saved us. It exposed the lies. It brought justice. It set us free. But more than that, it taught me something. The truth doesn't stay hidden forever. You can bury it, lie about it, run from it. But eventually, it finds its way into the light. Maybe through a napkin. Maybe through a phone call. Maybe through the courage of one person who refuses to stay silent. Marcus and I talk about Linda sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. He asked me once if I thought she'd ever change. If prison would make her realize what she'd done. I told him the truth, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But it doesn't matter anymore. Her choices are hers. Our lives are ours. We don't live in her shadow anymore. We don't carry her guilt or her secrets. We're free. And freedom, I've learned, isn't about having everything. It's about being honest. About standing by the people you love. About doing the right thing, even when it costs you everything. Linda had money. Power. Connections. But she didn't have integrity. And in the end, that's what destroyed her. So if you're listening to this story, if you're going through your own betrayal, your own pain, I want you to know something. You're stronger than you think. The truth is more powerful than lies. And the people who stand by you in the darkness? Those are your real family. Hold on to them. Fight for them. And never, ever let anyone convince you that protecting the people you love is wrong. Because in the end, that's all that matters. Marcus is thriving now. Building a life based on honesty and compassion. And me? I'm proud. Proud of him. Proud of us. Proud that we didn't let Linda's betrayal define us. We took that napkin, that simple, wrinkled napkin from a prison cell, and we turned it into justice. And that's a story worth telling. Sometimes the smallest piece of truth can unravel the biggest lie. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply living well.